Checking in on Mike Elko and Texas A&M here as we are just about 5 or 6 weeks away from August camp. Talking Texas A&M right here at the Voice of College Football. We've got Graham Harmon on the line from Gig'em Gazette. Graham, what's going on today?
Not much. How about you?
I'm doing just fine. Appreciate you stopping by to break down the Aggies. Let's start with recruiting. Of course, anytime somebody outside the Texas A&M fan base hears the term recruiting in Texas A&M, they're forever going to attach it, or at least in the time being, to 2022. They're going to attach it to previous successes in the recruiting rankings, but also defections. But hey, everybody's got them. So spinning forward to 2025, how is Mike Elko and his coaching staff hitting the recruiting trail?
Well, I've been really impressed so far. So it's funny you mentioned 2022. One of the big reasons that class was so big was the level of talent in the state of Texas that year, especially in the city of Houston. But 2025 honestly might match it, just with the amount of high-level prospects across the whole state. I think it's if you go by the composite 24/7 Sports composite, last time I checked, 18 players in the top 100 overall from the state of Texas. So there's plenty to be had, and especially there's I think three. Well, two of them are 5 stars. One of them is a borderline 5-star tackles, all just in the DFW area, and they're all offensive tackles. So a lot of talent in the state. And I think Elko and his staff are leveraging that really well so far. Our highest commit right now is actually from out of state, Corona, California, Husan Longstreet, quarterback who just got done at the Elite 11. Really impressed there. Another California commit, actually, Adonis Curry, more recent. He's a cornerback. I think we have either a 4 or 5 man class of corner right now. I think it may be 4. But we're looking to maybe add one more depending on if someone wants in who's a high up name on the board. But we just hosted a couple big recruiting weekends back to back. June 7th was the biggest one. Had all 3 of those tackles that I mentioned come in. That's Michael Fasusi from Louisville, Ty Haywood from Denton, and Lamont Rogers from Mesquite. All 3 really highly regarded. And, it would be tough just because of the nature of things. It would be tough to get more than one. But I feel great about the Aggies' chances of getting at least one of those 3. And that would be big news for Elko if he could do that. We already have either 4 or 5 offensive linemen committed, some that they feel are going to be risers in the rankings, but any one of those 3 guys would be a linchpin for the offensive line class. A decision we're watching closely coming up on June 30th. Noah Mikhail from also from out west. I forget if he's Arizona or California, but he's a linebacker coming down to A&M in Oregon, and that'll be on June 30th. Would love to see the Aggies land him. We already have one linebacker committed in Kelvion Riggins out of Forney, which is also in the DFW area, but if we got Mikhail to go along with him, that would be a great 2-man class. So other targets, we got Khalid Lockett, wide receiver. We got Jonah Williams. He I guess he's listed at safety, but he could play safety or linebacker. He's like 6'3", 210, and can add to his frame. All being big names. These are all going to go down to signing day pretty much. And with the way the portal is now, I guess even further. But Lincoln Cure, tight end from Kansas. Jonah Williams, safety linebacker from Galveston. All names that A&M is watching closely.
Are there any particular position groups that are more vital to filling out this roster going forward than others?
Well, I mean, corner and offensive line has been the thing for a while, and we already have a lot of bodies committed at those 2 positions, so I feel good about that. Both could use like a linchpin recruit. I think you may have that in Adonis Curry at corner, but one of those big offensive linemen that I've been mentioning would be a huge boost as well.
Has anything been stated in the last couple of weeks during these official visits or otherwise that would cause you to be more confident or less confident about the lean of these particular targets? Any of them that seem to favor Texas A&M or seem to be drifting somewhere else?
Well, there's some that are tough to get a read on. From everything I've surmised about Ty Haywood, one of those 5-star offensive tackles. He's just a little tough to read. Some people say Oklahoma. Some people have been saying Alabama. Some of the A&M insiders have been saying, hey, A&M's got much more of a shot here than other people think. But Lamont Rogers, another one of those tackles, is a guy that a lot of the insiders have expressed confidence in. Khalid Lockett, the wide receiver out of Saxe, he's another guy that I think he received some predictions to Texas not long ago, but some of the A&M insiders have been saying I think A&M has more of a shot than some of these other people are giving them in this recruitment. So those are a couple that I would watch. And Jonah Williams, like I said, he is apparently an Aggie lean and received a lot of predictions to A&M, but he doesn't have a specific date set or anything.
Graham Harmon stopping by to break down Texas A&M for us, the Aggies and everyone else in the SEC, of course, about a month away from SEC Media Days and then right into August camp. You can catch Graham's work at Gig'em Gazette. Please give us a like here at the Voice of College Football and subscribe as well. So peeling back from 2025 to 2024, and with Notre Dame being a week 1 challenge right out of the gate, what are the position battles that need some work, some attention, and some decision-making in August?
Well, the whole defensive backfield really got shuffled around. A lot of attrition through the portal and a couple from graduation and that sort of thing. Damani Richardson was a 4-year starter at safety, and he's on to the NFL now. So Bryce Anderson has one of those safety spots locked down, and it's going to come down to likely a transfer portal player, I would think, for the other spot. Maybe Trey Jones from Central Michigan, a 5th-year guy. Heard a lot of good things about him. He didn't play in the spring game due to injury. Dalton Brooks, he'll be either a redshirt freshman or a true sophomore. Don't recall how many games he played in last year, but heavy hitter from small town Shiner, Texas. He has a bright future. But I would say one of those two will lock down the safety spot opposite Bryce. And then at corner, you have Tyreek Chappelle has come back, but Elko has made comments about putting him at nickel, which would be interesting. One guy I'm really high on is the UAB transfer, BJ Mays. He was far and away the best player for their defense, in my opinion, last year. If you look at the film when the Blazers played Georgia, Mays looked like he was the only guy who belonged on the field with the Bulldogs in that game. So I think he has a great chance to start. The other spot could be Des Ricks, the really highly rated guy who he went to Alabama. I think he was originally like the number 2 or number 3 rated recruit in 2024, reclassified up, spent a year at Bama, and is now at A&M after Saban left. He could do that. He didn't play in the spring game either due to injury. Will Lee, a Kansas State transfer, great cover skills. I think maybe some worries about physicality there would be the only thing, but a great coverage corner. You have a lot of options. Elko really filled out the roster with corners through the portal. So there's a lot to choose from.
Graham, if there was going to be a true freshman that was going to star on this team or a handful of guys to be impact players, who would be the most likely candidates?
I'd be hard-pressed not to say Terry Bussey. He was our highest-rated recruit, 5-star, do-it-all guy. I mean, he is electric any way you can get the ball in his hands. I mean, a lot of people really want to put him at wide receiver, but that's a tough position to contribute at as a true freshman, especially that he's coming in the summer. Honestly, I mean, he could return punts even. I mean, he's just so electric when he gets the ball, but I think they're bringing him in just as corner right now. So he's another one that I could see breaking into that corner rotation. I mean, just elite athleticism. at that position. And so he could contribute. Another one, Dalen Evans, a defensive lineman from Longview, Texas, and he the interior of the Aggie defensive line is not. It's a little murky who's going to be playing. David Hicks, everyone knows, the true sophomore. He's going to be a force to be reckoned with. But then it's, do you go with the seniority in Albert Regis? Do you go with the potential and former 5-star Gabriel Brownlow-Dindy? You have a transfer from Wisconsin, Rodis Johnson, who showed some stuff in the spring game. There's a lot of options there, but Dalen Evans is going to come in, and he has the physical profile right now where I think he could hold up well if he acquits himself well in fall camp. So those are two names that I would look out for.
And of course, everyone wants to hear about quarterback, even though Connor Weigman, I got to say, after the regular season, seemed to be the presumed starter for 2024. And then with the bowl game and Marcel Reed performing well, and the way it shook out during the bowl game in particular, there seemed to be a number of candidates that are dark horses that could vie for the position, possibly.
Well, I don't know if anyone's going to unseat Weigman. I'm really partial to him. I really think, I don't know if you've seen, like, Pro Football Focus have been tweeting out, oh, this guy's a dark horse to be the number one quarterback taken off the board in 2025. Weigman is that good. Like, the stuff he showed against Miami specifically, even against lower competition in New Mexico and ULM. I mean, you got to do some projection there because it's not like you're playing against elite corners or anything. But against some of those great Miami defensive backs and a defensive coordinator in Lance Guidry, who I think is really good, Weigman was, some of the throws he was making off platform, the quick decisions he was having to make because our offensive line was terrible. Projecting him into hopefully what's going to be a better offensive line and a much better offensive system, I think Weigman's going to be really good. So I have a hard time seeing Marcel Reed or Jalen Henderson being able to unseat him. Although there are some people who have said, not people connected to the program, just people who have been, I guess, high on what they've seen out of Reed, who've said, well, this guy maybe could challenge. And I mean, I don't know. I just don't see it happening with if Weigman stays healthy.
And Graham, speaking to the offensive line, in reading a number of the preseason publications, some of them say there's really only one guy, and I'm not coming up with the name right now, but one starter coming back from last year who was a proven guy who played well. So a lot of uncertainty along the offensive line, and not necessarily was it addressed in the offseason with proven players.
Well, so Trey Zune, who I imagine they're talking about at left tackle, he did have a good year. He started his redshirt freshman year in 2022, and he played through. I don't recall exactly what the injury was, but it was something pretty serious, and he played through it, and so didn't look great his true freshman year, but really, I think probably the best offensive lineman, most consistent at least, this last season, and then. Bryce Foster headed out via the transfer portal. That's a whole situation. Wants to throw, shot put, and track, and all this sort of thing. He kept missing spring practice. Very talented, but just a lot of sort of non-football things, I think. But he's headed to Kansas. So they're bringing in a transfer from Utah at center, Koli Fayu. You got Mark Naboo. You got Cam Dewberry. Chase Besantis, who played tackle all 12 games last year, is probably going to slide inside to guard, which is where he projected more, but it was just because of a dearth of options at tackle that he played there last year. And you get your best right tackle option back, in my opinion, in Ruben Fothery, who missed all of last year with injury. After having a pretty good, really great, actually, freshman season, and then kind of regressing once Steve Adazio was brought in 2022 and then missing all of last year. I think Fothery, physically superimposing 6'8", 6'9", can really move. So I feel bullish on the offensive line, but there is a lot of upheaval, I guess. But I guess I'm also thinking moving from Steve Adazio to Adam Cushing, or really to any most other coaches would feel like a good upgrade.
Gig'em Gazette is a good place for Texas A&M football coverage. Graham Harmon's here, as he is often, to break down Texas A&M football for us. So we always appreciate Graham stopping by, delivering